Since 1983, FAME has helped business and education work for Maine. Contact the authority, the Finance Authority of Maine.
Welcome. This is our Afterthought segment where we keep our guests around from our broadcast program to have a little extra time with them and have some more in-depth and hopefully some candid conversation that you can only see on the web. With us today are Charlie Dingman, attorney from Purdy Flaherty's Health Law Practice Group, Trish Riley, Director of the Governor's Office on Health Policy and Finance, and Joe Allenbaugh, CEO, National Worksite Benefits Group. Thanks for sticking around. We had a couple really quick segments on this huge, huge issue. I'm glad you could stick around so we could do a little more on the web. We were talking in the break about the tax credits. And we were trying to say, yeah, what's the good part of this and what should businesses be thinking and doing right now? And you said, yeah, don't forget about that. So talk a little bit more about that.
They're available right now in this fiscal year. They're tax credits, obviously, against your income taxes. If you don't have adequate, if your income this year isn't as good as you hope it will be and you don't need the tax credits this year, it carries forward into next year. You can get up to 35% off your premium costs if you pay 50% for
now, what level
your business.
of employer is this? This
is a small group under, it's a group of 25,
okay.
But it's 25 full-time equivalents, so you can have more than 25 workers, and you have to have an average wage of $50,000, and there are 37,000 businesses in Maine who qualify, who meet that qualification.
Full-time equivalents, does that include seasonal? How do you
there's an exemption for seasonal, but
okay.
But it's a fairly wide open definition.
All right.
Otherwise.
Okay.
And the credit increases as the size of the business and the average wage goes down.
Mm-hmm.
So for the particularly small, particularly low wage business, this is a very, very substantial benefit.
Okay. Good. Good. Yeah, and it's real money.
Yeah, and the owners are excluded. The family members of the owners, which is a pretty broad definition, are excluded. So a small family company may need to take a look to determine if they're eligible. And then the calculations to determine, especially a company that would be eligible for a partial credit, mm-hmm. Whether their wages are a little bit higher or their number of employees, I found it a little bit cumbersome in doing the calculations. So we're actually doing some seminars starting next month on that. And I would just advise a small employer, I agree, absolutely check it out, see if you're eligible. It's money on the table, but make sure that you work through the logistics of it, because it's a little bit more complicated than I think a lot of people might be thinking of.
And there are talking points and questions and answers up on IRS.gov and on the Bureau of Insurance website here in the state as well.
Good, good. I guess I want to ask that threshold question: will small businesses really buy into this? I mean, because they're going to be weighing, they're going to be running, get their calculators out, doing the numbers on this thing, saying, let me see, Charlie says I'll get this penalty over here, but if it costs me over, So are there going to be enough incentives for them to really buy in to the small business health options that are out there?
To the exchange?
Yeah, to the exchanges.
Well, I think that's part of the design, and to link it with the subsidies, so it's very good for their employees.
Yeah.
Lots of small businesses, as Joel knows better than most, have a hard time meeting the rule that 75% of your workers have to participate. If they're eligible for health care, they have to join the plan. When they're subsidized, and the subsidy levels in this plan are extraordinary. They're very rich, they're very deep, they cover for lower income people both the premium costs and the out-of-pocket costs. Mm-hmm. In the exchange there are limits on how much out-of-pocket costs. So it makes affordability very much a reality.
Actually make it so it can be understandable. And I think that's what the federal government should be doing, and certainly at the state level we need to be doing that. Then businesses can make good decisions. They can work with people like you, they can work with people like you, but they can also read it and understand it and make logical choices. I mean, that's one thing that they know how to make money.
And that's
Let's help them do it.
And that's a clear requirement in the law. 4 different types of plans with 4 different types of benefits, and you'll be able to compare exactly what the benefits are with the prices, with the quality of the plan.
I want to ask a question. I want to ask about the crossing state lines. I'm confused. Am I the only one that's confused about this? Are we going to be able to do this? Are we not going to be able to do that? And when will that happen if we are?
It's going to be phased in. It's not going to happen immediately, and it's going to be a state option whether a state can choose to regionalize the exchanges, or it can choose to operate the exchange on an individual state-by-state basis. Either way, there are going to be some cross-state products created as part of the reform process. So the exchange will make available some multi-state options, in addition to whatever is made available on a state-by-state basis.
And in fact, must have 2 multi-state plans in the exchange. But importantly, this notion of buying across state lines
Right.
is mythic. And I think
Well,
we ought to think...
that's what I'm saying. That's great, right? Competition is going to be great. It's going to drive costs
Here's
down.
one of the issues why it's sometimes healthcare is cheaper in New Hampshire. They have different rules, and that begins to go away. What we've done in this health plan is standardize most of the insurance rules. So
In fact, the federal rules start to bring them up to Maine standards.
They
Is
do.
that correct?
They do.
I mean,
And
for good or bad. I mean,
for good or ba-
they can decide.
the other reason other states may have less costly premiums is because they have a different provider structure. They may not have as many providers, they may not have as much choice, they may not even have as much quality. But you still have to work with Maine's providers. So even though you might be a plan from some other state, you're still contracting with Maine's providers. Those costs are Maine costs.
So that at the same time that it's going to be more feasible and rational to offer plans across state lines, it's going to be less significant in terms of pricing because the standards will be much closer to the same from state to state.
And that brings us back to our Joint Select Committee here in our Maine legislature, because there are a number of areas where the federal law is more restrictive than Maine law, but there are also a number of areas where it's less restrictive
Right.
than Maine law. And we're going to have that choice to make at the state level. Do we move to the federal parameters? Do we not? We could maintain a more restrictive environment here in the state of Maine.
What's an
which-
example of where we're more restrictive than the federal?
Age bands. I believe it's 1.5 to 1 in Maine, and it's 3 to 1, I
3 to 1.
believe, in the
Okay.
federal,
Yeah.
which is a very significant difference.
Yeah, okay.
And other mandates, chiropractor, mental health parity, the kinds of things that have
Yeah.
been mandated
Yeah.
over time.
Right.
There'll be a national essential benefit plan. There'll be a national definition of benefits. If a state wants to go beyond, if our mandates are not included in the national design, the state has to pay for any additional ones.
And the
so that
state-
will be a choice the state will have to make.
And when we say the state making that choice, that will be a legislative
It will.
piece of
It will.
action, so it's
And
going to
if
go
they
through our sausage grinder and come out.
It will go through our
Just
and
like
through-
all of our insurance have,
And
regulations
through-
have, which is it's
Right.
supposed to, that's fine.
But this will go through our budget as well, because this attaches to it a state responsibility to pay for any additional mandates.
Right.
So that will become a very important discussion.
Okay, we got to wrap up, but I got to ask you, politics on this thing. Yeah, so funny, of course, it's 2014, 2006, my gosh, who knows what's going to be happening by then. So there are going to be a lot of election cycles now and then. How do you think this is going to fare? Is it going to be the way it is? Are we going to see changes? Is there a chance of a repeal?
I think that we can construct. There are some interesting legal arguments out there that can't be swept aside too quickly, but the bottom line is you have a system that's in chaos now. You have one of the strongest economies in the world being well behind the rest of the advanced economies in the world in terms of providing universal health care coverage. I think we have to arrive here. We have to find a way to provide universal coverage, and it's going to make insurance more affordable and manageable in the long run. Those are such fundamentals that I would be very surprised to see a dismantling of this initiative, no matter what the legal challenges are, no matter what the political challenges are. That may affect at the margin how it's designed, how various features are worked out, how the rules are written, but fundamentally we're here to stay.
Okay.
The reforms, and they will fight them. But it's
Right.
important. This is not government health care. This builds on employer-based systems, and that's important. That's fundamentally different from what so many people are worried about. We've learned a lesson in Maine. Before Dirigo even began, people had gone back to their corners and started to fight it, and we've been fighting it for 8 years. It's helped a lot of people and made significant change in this state, but it's an example of what I hope we don't do federally.
Hello. What are you sensing about
Well,
this?
I've talked about this a lot lately, and I always start off with everything I'm about to say is subject to change, and it's so difficult to put your finger on. You know, I think if this reduces premiums, then it's going to be here to stay. But there's a big question about that, and that to
take
me
time
is
to actually achieve that, though.
that's true, but we should be able to see some incremental things moving in the right direction along the way. And my question will be, will there be the political will to make adjustments and corrections where it's needed,
Right.
or will, to Tricia's point, will we go back to our corners and just start fighting from
Yep.
scratch? I hope that we move forward and make sure that we get to the end result, which is lower cost.
There, but I have a feeling I'm going to have this panel back probably, I don't know, when should I have you back? In a year?
Changes
from
about
now?
every week.
I know, but people come back and say, okay, here's what we said, and we'll all have a nice laugh as we're watching it. How did this really turn out? It'll be great. I mean, it is. It's going to be one of those really, it is sweeping, you know. And we're going to have to watch it as it goes forward. So, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.